All right, welcome everyone to the next installment of Chats with the Founder, Meet the Founder. We love doing these informal chats every month for our newsletters where we get a chance to connect with Arkansas-based inventors and founders and entrepreneurs and innovators and learn a little bit about their stories. And I am really excited to have one of my favorite startup founders in the state of Arkansas with us today, Misti Staley. Misti and I have known each other for quite some time. And so, Misti, do you want to, let's just start by you introducing yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Misti Staley, CEO of Staley House, and Jeff has been there since the beginning, since our Delta I Fund days back in 2018. And so it's really nice to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, absolutely. We're happy about this. All right, so I always like to ask people to start with your elevator pitch. If you were going to give an elevator pitch for Staley House or for FreeArm, what would you do that? How would you what's your elevator pitch?
Sure. Well, my son Freeman had a feeding tube pretty much his whole life, and we needed a help with his tube feeds. And we were trying to hold Freeman, he was 3.5 months when he was home at the time, and the gravity syringe, and put milk in the syringe, which was plugged into his feeding tube in his belly, and put medicines in, and hold his passy in so he could suck as his tummy filled. And it was just this big juggling act, and we really needed an extra hand. So we created one, the FreeArm. The FreeArm, it lends a hand at the hospital, home, and on the go with tube feeds, gravity syringe feeds, pump feeds, and infusions.
Yeah, that is great. So, you have a really incredibly compelling origin story that you touched on there a little bit related to your son. Are you comfortable sharing some of that origin story with us in a little more detail?
Sure. I love to talk about Freeman, so I don't ever want anyone to feel um, like they shouldn't ask about him because I always want him to be at the forefront, and his life has so much meaning. So, my son Freeman was born in 2015 here in Helena, Arkansas, which is where we live. He was life flighted to Arkansas Children's Hospital 3 hours after he was born. And from there, we found out that he had all sorts of medical complexities that we had no idea about. He had a coloboma in his eye where the black part dripped down into a keyhole shape, an extra rib, a horseshoe shaped kidney. He had a small cleft palate in the very back of his throat, which that kept him from latching to breast or bottle tightly enough to be able to get out enough milk without wearing himself out and burning too many calories. But from the beginning, he had an OG tube in his mouth, moved up to an NG in his nose. We were in the NICU for 3.5 months, and before we were discharged home, he had a surgically placed G tube in his belly, which is sort of like the blow up hole on a beach ball in a way, but it was in his belly so that food could directly go into his belly. He could still practice his sucking, but then we could top him off with calories through his feeding tube. And like I said before, when we were home, we were juggling the gravity syringe feed during the day. He also had pump feeds at night, and we would constantly almost break our toe on that IV pole in our bedroom every night, trying to get up to feed him and stumble around in the dark. So we just really needed an extra hand. Um, Sadly, Freeman's breathing became labored after we were home for 5 weeks, and we needed to return to Children's. From there, they put us in the PICU, and we were in the PICU for 5 months, and we really could not believe we ended up being in the PICU longer than the NICU. And Freeman got a trach. He had all sorts of procedures, a heart cath, all sorts of different medicine variations, but nothing really helped him to turn that corner. And sadly, he passed away 6 years ago this coming Tuesday. And so we miss him every single day. But there's been so much good to come from his life. We built Freeman Playground here in Helena that year following his passing, and then started on the FreeArm shortly after that. So his brief
Yeah,
life
that's
continues to inspire.
yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, yeah, I can't imagine that, but it is so good the way that you have channeled his life into doing positive things, including, forming the basis for the free arm and enabling parents who are now in the situation that you are in, to do a better job of managing the feeding of their kids, and I think that's fantastic. So yeah, your origin story is obviously really compelling, and I think it's a big part of what drives you with FreeArm, right? Is because you feel that connection on a personal level. And I've often wondered with startups, what is the ability of some folks to see a startup or an innovation they want to attach themselves to form a startup and look at it purely as an economic opportunity. Like if I attached myself to any particular innovation and said, hey, I think there's a good business in here and I want to grow and scale the business, maybe exit and do well economically, but I don't really have an emotional connection or at least some strong interest in the subject matter, how successful could I be? And I just wonder, does that deep personal connection that you have to FreeArm through your origin story, does that feel like a competitive advantage for you? Like, do you feel like that gives you a little bit of extra incentive or motivation to keep going when things inevitably get tough, like they do for all startups?
Right. Yes, I do. And I feel like it's even deeper than that, in that it keeps me going in more ways than one. It keeps me going through the grief process and making positive outcomes happen from that. But also being able to connect with other parents. The free arm um, is great for children and adults, but just because we were in the space so closely through our son, to be able to connect with parents who are now going through the same journey, tube feeding journey with their children, I'm really able to connect with them on a personal level, and it really builds trust within um, our company, I believe. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Looking back on it now, um, like my dad, he would detail cars at the house, kind of as his weekend job or kind of side hustle to his 9 to 5. And I would join him in the driveway, and I would detail the inside while he detailed the outside. And he sort of taught me all these things to look for and grab a toothbrush and get every little piece out of crumbs around the console and all of that. And then he was busy with his job after I had graduated and went to college. But when I was home in the summer, he didn't have time to detail cars. So I took over his business. So I got to go pick up these real fancy, cool cars and bring them over to their driveway and detail cars, and then go jump in the pool when it got too hot. And I just really loved working for myself and being able to make my own hours. Even after I graduated, I would teach art classes and um, teach mural classes here in Helena, which I still have the opportunity to do every once in a while. But it's different with the free arm in how personal it is to me. And so looking now, after learning all I've learned through the different accelerators that I've been through, and really looking for the pain point of the customer, if somebody sees that there is a product that they would be able to bring to market and do it well, really look at what is the pain point that you're solving for the end user, and really concentrate on that. Because even when I was detailing cars, there's a pain point there. People need a clean car, they don't have time to clean their car, and I could do it for them. Um, with creative outlets for uh, students after school and teaching mural classes, there's a pain point there for the parents and the schools that want their students involved in these. But with the FreeArm, it is on a different level, and I am so thankful for everything that Freeman taught us through his tube feeding journey to now put me in this position to be able to bring the FreeArm to families.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. As you know, I readily identify with your desire and need to be an entrepreneur. I've done it so long now that I tell people that I think I'm officially unemployable. Like, I don't think that I could do that anymore. There are too many rewards from charting your own path in life, and so yeah, I think we're birds of a feather on that. Um, so your discussion of entrepreneurship, I think, is a good segue because to this next question, I think maybe more than anybody I know, Misti, you are a product of Arkansas's entrepreneurial ecosystem. I mean, you have kind of come up through the ranks. You and I met at the Delta iFund, which was maybe your very first entrepreneurial program in which you participated. I think you've been a part of the 10X Accelerator by the Conductor. You're an Innovate Arkansas client. At HealthTech Arkansas, we help you because through our mandate of trying to help all Arkansas-based entrepreneurs and innovators. So you've worked with and met a lot of people as part of that ecosystem. And I'd love for you to just tell a little bit about that collective support that you've received from folks across the state and kind of what it's meant to you.
Yeah, it's meant so much to us. And before the Delta I Fund, we actually started at the ASBTDC, the Arkansas Small Business Technology and Development Center in Little Rock. We knew about them when we were thinking about the FreeArm, and that's where we started. And they connected us or encouraged us to apply for the Delta I Fund. But that was after leading us through some customer discovery, even at the ASBTDC. And so then getting into the Delta I Fund, not really even knowing what we were signing up for. At that time, it was my husband and myself, but he runs a nonprofit graphic design and economic development firm here in Helena, Arkansas, and that keeps him more than 40 hours a week busy. So I am full-time with FreeArm, and when I can pin him down to do some graphic design work or do something like that, I do. But going through the Delta I Fund, I don't think FreeArm would be where it is today without the Delta I Fund, and being able to go through that program and make sure that the pain point we were solving for was also solving that same pain for other families. Even pivoting while we were in the Delta I Fund for the FreeArm to not only hold the gravity syringe feed, but to also hold a pump and feed bag. And then that opened us up to further thinking even after we had launched. We launched the original FreeArm, and then we launched the FreeArm Muscle a year later, just because we saw that our customers were saying, I'm an adult and I have heavier and larger feed volumes, and can the arm support that? And us saying, we're gonna make something that does, because we want to help you. So I think it's kind of led us through that, and also encouraged us just to continue with customer discovery. We're all the time calling people and asking people questions and connecting with new people. To be able to go through the different programs within our state and region at that time that we were ready to go through them has really been eye-opening. We were also part of the Spark program, Spark Accelerator, through the Venture Center as well. And then with the 10X Growth Accelerator, which I just finished up this past fall, I've been looking forward to reaching that point where we would qualify to be a part of it. So going back to Delta I Fund, when we were in the Delta I Fund, we were surrounded by other people who had a business idea, and we were all at that same point, and we were all connecting with mentors who were connecting us with different people and their mentors. Fast forward to the 10X Growth Accelerator, we're surrounded by businesses that a lot of them were around the same age as us. So we've been on the market for 3 years now. And they had all reached sort of that yearly monetary amount that you have to hit to be able to be a part of 10X. And so we were all kind of in this growth stage to where we were hiring a sales team and you're hiring a sales team, and what are you looking for and what should be my red flags, and you have a sales team and how did you start that, and to just be able to not only learn so much from the program but to be able to connect with other people in the room who were going through the program is really beneficial.
Yeah, that is great. You may be at this point running out of entrepreneurial programs in the state of Arkansas. You may have to at some point find national programs. Yeah, I think you've run through all that we maybe have here inside the state. So you mentioned you've been in business 3 years now, which is or had products in the marketplace for 3 years. That is fantastic. So you've got some good traction now. I know sales are going well. What is the next milestone for the FreeArm, and how do you think HealthTech Arkansas can help you reach that milestone?
Sure. Well, when we started in 2018, we started late 2018, like Thanksgiving. So really 2019 was our first real big year. But our goal was to reach direct B2C, direct to consumers at home. We were working with some hospitals throughout 19, and hospitals were approaching us. Like Arkansas Children's, for example, they use the FreeArm in their NICU and discharge families home with the FreeArm. And we have other large hospitals as well using the FreeArm, and also at-home suppliers. DMEs are using the FreeArm and supplying it as well. But we didn't have the amount that we wanted in 2019 because our goal was amount of hospitals and DMEs, because our goal was to just get it into the hands of as many people who were tube feeding at home as possible. Then fast forward to 2020, our goal was, okay, let's get this into the hands of more hospitals, more at-home suppliers, and then COVID hit. And so you could not step foot in a hospital, and everyone was more than overwhelmed with COVID and everything that was happening. So we stood back a little bit and said, we don't want to add anything else to clinical personnel's plates at this time, and let's continue reaching out to at-home customers. And if hospitals come to us and DMEs come to us, we'll be more than happy to supply to them. Now that COVID, fingers crossed, it seems to be ramping down just a little bit, hopefully. We do have a lot more hospitals and DMEs reaching out to us, and the more that we connect with and call, the more who are open and saying, yes, we need this, and our customers need this. So HealthTech Arkansas has wonderful connections within our state and region, and any connections that you guys could connect us with who would benefit from the FreeArm, that would be wonderful. Arkansas Children's is the only children's hospital in the state that places surgical feeding tubes in kids. But there are so many that place PEG tubes in adults, and we would love to be able to connect with them, to be able to help their tube feeding families and patients who are being discharged home, and even while they're in the hospital, to be able to show them you have a new way to eat, but it's not scary, and it's another way to eat, and you can still set the FreeArm up and put the gravity syringe in and still enjoy reading the morning paper while you have your morning meal, and just to normalize it a little bit for this huge life-changing event that are happening in people's lives.
Yeah. I think actually our clinical director, Stephanie, has an email teed up to our hospital partners to ask for those introductions on behalf of FreeArm. But like most of the time. She's waiting on me to review that email. I'm often the bottleneck for that process. But yeah, we absolutely can't wait to do everything we can to help you with hospital introductions. You mentioned Arkansas Children's. You know, they had your son in the NICU and the PICU. Now they're a customer of the FreeArm. Talk about your relationship with Arkansas Children's. You know, as you know, they're a dear partner of ours as well. We've been conducting innovation programming within Arkansas Children's for the past year and a half, and I have really, really enjoyed getting to know the folks there and their commitment to innovation. But I'd love for you to talk about your relationship with Arkansas Children's.
Sure. We still keep in touch very closely with a lot of the nurses that watched Freeman. We even just recently made a clinical video, and Arkansas Children's was highlighted there with Rosalie, who she's recently stopped working at Arkansas Children's because she moved. But she was on and was able to, in our clinical testimonial video, talk about how special it was that she was there with Freeman, and then fast forward a couple of years, she would be using the FreeArm at the same bed space that Freeman was in at one time with her patient, and just how it came full circle and how it was helping families there at Arkansas Children's. And that's really special. I'm also on the PICU Family Advisory Board, which is a great way, I feel, for me to give back from everything that we saw and learned throughout our 9 months in the hospital at Children's. So it really did become our second home. So to be able to give back on any feedback and ways that the patient-centered care or family experience can be any better, I enjoy giving back in that way.
Yeah, that's great. You know, they're just such a fantastic resource for us here inside the state and for kids outside the state as well. But it's just a first-class organization, the way it's run and managed and all of that. All right, last question for you. We're going to try something different here. We're going to flip the script, and we're going to let you ask me a question about anything you want to ask, Misti. It can be about me, it can be about HealthTech Arkansas, it can be about entrepreneurship, whatever is on your mind. We have not compared notes. I have no idea what you're going to ask. I hope you're nice to me with your question. But fire away. I want to see what's on your mind.
I've thought about all kinds of funny things to ask, but then I thought, no, I shouldn't. Um, no, I'm interested to hear what are some of HealthTech Arkansas's next big plans. I know that you guys are working with all sorts of different hospitals and trying to sort of bring innovation to the forefront within a lot of these hospitals. I love hearing all of that from you guys through your newsletter. And do you have anything that's on the horizon that you could share?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Yeah, we actually do. We have quite a bit going on. I think that the 4-year evolution of HealthTech Arkansas has been incredibly gratifying, but really just within the last 6 months, it feels like it has accelerated so fast that I don't know that we're able to manage all the opportunities in front of us. It really is astounding. And I'll start with, again, a year and a half ago, we joined with the U of A and Startup Junkie and the Conductor to launch a comprehensive innovation program for Arkansas Children's, which has been, I think, very successful, and we have learned so much. And as a result of that, we now have other health systems across the state who are interested in doing similar things with us, which is essentially helping them to develop their own internal innovations, right? So HealthTech Arkansas's Accelerator, we're bringing these accomplished startups in from outside the state and connecting new innovations to our hospitals that way. But at Arkansas Children's, we've worked with them and we've had 94 invention disclosures in the first year and a half of our program. So that's 94 ideas for new healthcare innovations that have come to us that we vet and assess and screen and try to develop and conduct customer discovery and find external funding and all the different things to move those things forward, including, protecting and securing the intellectual property when we can. So that has got the attention of other health systems around the state, and through a really fantastic partnership with U of A, we are now launching some of that internal innovation work at our health systems. And I think that's going to be a ton of fun. I think we also have an opportunity to do a second accelerator in the state in 2022 that will be really a pretty dramatic departure from the traditional HealthTech Accelerator. It'll be in a completely different clinical area, and I think that'll be fun. So we just have a lot in front of us. The U of A is far and away my favorite collaborator. I mean, they're fantastic. They have such leadership, particularly the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, which is not just focused on the U of A. Their statewide efforts to drive innovation within the state is really fantastic, and so we have a strong desire to develop that partnership in every single possible way we can. They're just fantastic to work with. But thank you for that question, and we appreciate the time. This has been great. It's been a fun 25 minutes or so that we've been able to spend with each other, and good luck in all of your future endeavors. We are going to do everything we can to help with your success, and I just look forward to continuing this journey with you, Misti. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for everything, Jeff.
All right, take care.